Now, joining me to break down what it all means is Namir Khan, Chairman of the MENA Fintech Association. Thank you so much for joining us again in the show, Namir.
Thank you for having me, Ragda.
Of course. Now, let's break down what all of this mean. This report from IMF, what does it mean for UAE?
So first of all, I think it's a great time for UAE. We all should be very proud, and all of us who are basically building in the ecosystem over here, number one. Number two is that let's look at the 10-day visit that IMF did over here. What did they study? They studied economic fundamentals, they studied the banking sector and the policy frameworks. Now, the verdict that they came up with was what? Verdict was that UAE is strong, UAE is sound, and most importantly, it's exceptionally well prepared. Now, when a verdict like this comes from one of the world's most credible economic institutions, so it is not just basically a simple praise. This basically is a very strong communication. And second, when an institution like IMF speaks, the capital listens, the global capital is listening. So I believe that this is a strong testament in terms of UAE's investment into building policy as an infrastructure early before, and thus the product we see today.
Definitely, and while geopolitical tension is like right next door to the UAE has shown a lot of resilience when it comes to the banking sector. Now, what is actually behind the strength and resilience of the UAE finance now?
So, few things for me. One is leadership, discipline, and preparedness. Right? So there are three things that I see. Now, if you look at the overall assets for the banking sector in 2025, 5.34 trillion dirhams, which is a 17% year-over-year growth. Now, as you see this, you also see increase in, I would say, in lending. You would also see that the consumers are also basically borrowing. Most importantly, the loan portfolios are also expanding. Now, that is extremely important to see that these numbers are coming in from numbers of strength.
Yeah.
So the banking sector has always been very well prepared. So as I say, great financial institutions or ecosystems are not built during crisis. They're always built beforehand.
Okay, so they are very well prepared, let's say. So the central bank resilience package, also launched back in March, gets a direct mention in this report. Has that made a real difference, Namir, on the ground?
Absolutely. Big one. And what IMF states itself is there. It's called proactiveness.
Yeah.
So the Central Bank of UAE, with all due credit, has been always extremely proactive. Such measures, normally, if you study any economies, will always appear when pressure builds up. You just mentioned March, and the report says March as well, which means they moved in early, right? So this was an early, they were prepared way ahead of time. Now, that was an extremely strong indicator for the banks, a very strong signal for them to keep on lending, number one, for businesses to have access to credit. That is extremely critical, and that laid a very strong foundation. So once again, the preparedness was extremely important. Central Bank of UAE is one of the most forward-thinking regulators. They went ahead of time. They understood what's important for the business and the economy. And yes, everyone basically, I would say benefited from that significantly.
Yeah, for sure. So let's break this down more. Trade, aviation, logistics all held steady through regional turmoil. Which of those sectors surprised you the most?
To be very honest, Ragda, none of them. And I'll tell you why. It's an important answer. If you look at the way UAE has designed its architecture, you pick up the free zones, you pick up the ports, you pick up airlines, you pick up logistic hubs. All of them have been built with something within them which is indispensability, right? Indispensability in the sense that the architecture is such that they are built with global connectivity, global market connectivity, global routes are connected. So there's no dependency on one single route, on one single market. And that plays an extremely critical role. So the steadiness that you see today is not by coincidence. It is by architecture.
Yeah. Of course, and now the IMF also expects the UAE's fiscal balance to stay in surplus, helped by oil prices and disciplined budgeting. Is that a sign of smart policy from the UAE, or maybe just good timing?
Policy always comes first. As I've always mentioned, policy as an infrastructure, which is a key distinction between UAE and other global economies. One. Number two, oil can give you surplus, yeah, but fiscal discipline, low public debt, and also if you're looking at smart budgeting, that comes with discipline, right? So that is, I wouldn't say that's just good timing, but I would say that UAE is always seen ahead of time in terms of establishing the right policies and the right frameworks and the right infrastructure in the form of policy. So good timing, yes, helps, but certainly I would give more credit to the policy infrastructure and the way the policies have been designed.
Yeah, and being prepared, like you mentioned already. You mentioned also low public debt. Now, what do you want to see in that space?
So not many countries have this, I would say, capability. What I would like to see personally is three things I would pick up. One is continue to invest in financial infrastructure. You just mentioned J1 is growing and expanding. Digital payments are expanding. Regulatory frameworks are being established more and more. That's a very key, unique, I would say, edge that UAE has in terms of strong policy frameworks and regulations. Stable coins are also, getting a lot of momentum over here. Second is going to be the talent. Continue to attract global talent in financial services, healthcare, tech, into the country. That's going to be a very important, I would say, area. And third, which I personally have a very strong faith in, is climate finance. UAE is in a key, unique position to basically become the climate hub for the world. So I certainly see these three verticals that I would personally look into once we are basically having
definitely on the road to do so. What does this IMF report actually tell the world about the UAE's economy at the moment?
Absolutely, one thing that UAE is a safe harbor. It's a safe place.
Still a safe haven.
Safe harbor in all ways. So you're looking at a couple of things over here. One is that the UAE model works. It has worked over and over again. Resilience in the country, if you pick up historically, is there. Resilience has not been learned recently. Resilience has been there since the early days, since the inception of this country. So, one, the model works, resilience. Third thing is the diversification. If you pick up the number when it comes to the non-oil sector of this country, it's around 74%, if I'm not wrong, 74, 79%. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That basically showcases you that how the transformation has been going for this country for the longest time, which means that they have been looking ahead of the curve. So that's one. Number three is that business is going as usual and is going better than ever. For people who are building in this space when it comes to financial innovation and financial technology and founders, this also gives a very strong communication to the world globally that this place is perfect to come and build and connect with the global market.
And we see that here, how the UAE is still building at the moment during all of what's happening in the world at the moment. Thank you so much, Namir Khan, Chairman of MENA Fintech Association, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.